I smiled when my cousin hugged me at our anniversary dinner, even though I had already listened to the recording of her telling my husband that I had been secretly cheating for months. She believed her lies had finally destroyed my marriage. She had no idea her own husband was standing only a few feet away, listening through a wireless speaker hidden beneath the dining table. By the end of that night, the woman who spent years trying to steal my happiness would lose her marriage, her reputation, and every person who ever believed her. Before we begin, please like and subscribe. Now, get comfortable and enjoy. My name is Claire, and until everything fell apart, I believed my family was the safest place in my life. I was 33 years old, worked as a financial compliance manager for a private investment firm in Chicago, and had been married to Ethan for almost 7 years. We were not rich enough to own yachts or private jets, but we had built a comfortable life together. Our townhouse had a small garden. Our savings account held just over $380,000. We had no debt except the final year of our mortgage. We trusted each other completely. At least, I thought we did. Then there was my cousin Vanessa. She was beautiful in the effortless way magazines loved to celebrate. Perfect hair. Designer handbags that somehow appeared despite endless complaints about money. A smile so convincing that strangers trusted her within minutes. But beneath that polished image lived a woman who quietly measured every achievement against someone else's happiness. Growing up, our relatives compared us constantly. If I earned better grades, Vanessa suddenly had mysterious excuses. If she received compliments, she made sure everyone noticed them twice. I learned early that competing with her only fed something unhealthy inside her, so I stopped trying. I celebrated her promotions. I attended every birthday party. I even recommended her for freelance marketing projects whenever clients asked whether I knew someone creative. Looking back, kindness was never the mistake. Ignoring patterns was. The first warning arrived almost 2 years before everything exploded. During Thanksgiving dinner, Vanessa casually asked Ethan whether he had ever wondered what kind of woman I might have become if we had never married. The question sounded harmless. Everyone laughed. Ethan answered that he never thought about impossible scenarios because he already had exactly the life he wanted. Vanessa smiled. But her eyes did not. Later that evening, while washing dishes beside my aunt, I noticed Vanessa standing alone in the hallway, staring directly at Ethan while pretending to scroll through her phone. The expression disappeared the second she realized I had noticed. She laughed loudly, walked into the kitchen, and complimented my homemade pumpkin pie as though nothing unusual had happened. I dismissed the strange moment. That would become the most expensive mistake of my entire life. 4 months after Thanksgiving, life settled back into its familiar rhythm. Ethan focused on expanding his architecture firm. I managed increasingly complex compliance audits involving multimillion-dollar investment accounts. We planned a vacation to Italy for our 8th anniversary. Everything appeared stable. Everything looked secure. Then tiny cracks began appearing where I least expected them. Ethan started asking unusual questions. Who had called me during lunch? Why I stayed 20 minutes late after work? Whether a new colleague had been hired. His tone remained calm, but there was something underneath it. A hesitation. A quiet uncertainty that had never existed before. I answered every question honestly. Because I had nothing to hide. One Friday evening, I walked into our bedroom and caught Ethan quickly locking his phone before placing it face down on the nightstand. He smiled. But the smile never reached his eyes. That single moment settled heavily inside my chest. Not because I suspected betrayal. Because I recognized doubt. Someone had planted it. Instead of confronting him immediately, I paid attention. The following week, Ethan declined lunch at my office for the first time in years. 2 days later, he canceled our date night because he claimed an important client meeting had run late. Nothing dramatic. Just small changes. Enough to tell me something invisible was happening. One Monday morning, our receptionist handed me an envelope without a return address. Inside were 3 printed photographs. Each showed me standing outside a downtown cafe beside a man. The angle suggested intimacy. The implication was obvious. The reality was completely different. The man was David Morrison, one of our firm's external auditors. We had spent 45 minutes reviewing regulatory documents before walking back toward our offices in separate directions. The photographs had been cropped carefully. Anyone looking at them would assume we had been meeting secretly. Someone had invested time creating a lie. I didn't panic. Instead, something inside me became perfectly still. Years of compliance investigations had taught me one lesson above all others. Documents mattered. Evidence mattered. Feelings did not. That afternoon, I requested surveillance footage from the cafe manager, explaining that someone appeared to be stalking me. The manager recognized me immediately. Our firm had hosted several business lunches there. He agreed without hesitation. The video showed exactly what I expected. David arrived alone. I arrived 12 minutes later. We reviewed financial reports. Paid separately. Left separately. Case closed. Except someone had intentionally removed every piece of context before mailing those photographs. That required planning. Planning required motive. And motive always pointed toward a person. I created a private folder on an encrypted drive. Every suspicious event went inside. Dates. Times. Messages. Photographs. Phone records. Nothing escaped documentation. 3 days later, Ethan accidentally left his tablet on the kitchen counter while showering. A notification appeared. The sender's name made my heartbeat slow instead of quickening. Vanessa. The preview contained only one sentence. I wish you would believe me before it's too late. I did not open the conversation. I simply photographed the notification with my own phone. Then I placed the tablet exactly where Ethan had left it. If Vanessa was behind this, she wanted me emotional. She wanted confrontation. She wanted mistakes. She was going to receive none of them. Instead, she was giving me exactly what I needed. Time. And every extra day she believed her plan was succeeding allowed me to build a stronger case against her than she could ever imagine. The next morning, I left home exactly as usual. I kissed Ethan goodbye, drove toward my office, then parked 3 blocks away instead. From there, I called an old friend named Rebecca, a digital forensics consultant who had testified in several fraud investigations with me over the years. She understood evidence better than almost anyone I knew, and more importantly, she understood discretion. After listening carefully, Rebecca asked only one question. Do you want the truth, or do you want to win? I want both, I answered. She smiled. Then don't confront anyone until every lie can be disproved with documents. That became my rule. Over the next 3 weeks, I quietly gathered everything. Phone records showed dozens of calls between Vanessa and Ethan, usually while I was at work. Bank statements revealed nothing unusual, which reassured me that Ethan was not secretly paying anyone. Rebecca helped recover metadata from the anonymous photographs. They had been edited on the same software license registered to a marketing company where Vanessa worked as a freelance consultant. Still, assumptions were not enough. I needed undeniable proof. One Saturday afternoon, my aunt hosted a birthday barbecue. Nearly the entire family attended. Vanessa arrived wearing oversized sunglasses, carrying an expensive handbag she proudly announced had cost $4,000. She hugged me warmly and complimented my dress so loudly everyone heard it. Then, while serving drinks, she quietly leaned toward Ethan. I watched from across the yard. She whispered something. His face tightened. Exactly 5 seconds later, he looked at me with visible uncertainty. Another seed planted. Another performance completed. That evening, Rebecca sent me something remarkable. Using publicly available records, she discovered Vanessa had recently searched for divorce attorneys, despite constantly posting perfect family photographs with her husband, Daniel. She also found several deleted social media messages recovered through cached archives. Vanessa had repeatedly complained that my marriage looked too perfect and that life rewarded boring people instead of ambitious ones. Jealousy. Not love. Not revenge. Simple jealousy. Everything finally made sense. The following Tuesday, Ethan came home unusually quiet. After dinner, he looked directly at me. "I need to ask you something." I nodded. He hesitated for nearly 30 seconds. Then he asked whether I had ever been alone with another man outside work without telling him. I answered honestly. "Never." He lowered his eyes. "I've been hearing things." "I know," I replied calmly. His head lifted immediately. "You know?" "I know someone wants you to doubt me." He looked shocked. But I refused to argue. Instead, I opened my laptop and showed him the cafe surveillance footage, complete with timestamps, payment receipts, and security logs. His expression changed instantly. Confusion replaced suspicion. Then guilt replaced confusion. Before he could apologize, I closed the computer. "This isn't the full story," I said quietly. "Someone is manufacturing evidence. If we move too soon, they'll destroy whatever connects them." For the first time in weeks, Ethan reached across the table and held my hand. "I'm sorry." I squeezed his fingers gently. "Not yet." He frowned. "Save that apology until you know everything." From that moment forward, we worked together in complete silence. Vanessa believed she had divided us. She had actually created the strongest partnership our marriage had ever known. And together, we began preparing the family dinner that would end her carefully constructed life forever. Planning the dinner required patience rather than drama. Ethan suggested confronting Vanessa privately, but I refused. A private confrontation would become another story she could twist. She had survived for years by changing details, denying conversations, and convincing people that everyone else remembered events incorrectly. This time, every important person would hear the truth at exactly the same moment. Daniel unknowingly became the final piece. He called Ethan one evening, asking whether everything was all right because Vanessa had become strangely obsessed with our marriage. She checked my social media several times a day. She criticized every gift Ethan bought me. She even compared our vacation plans with theirs, insisting they deserved something better. Ethan invited him to meet for coffee. There, without revealing my investigation, Ethan asked a simple question. "If proof existed that someone had been manipulating both of us, would you want to see it?" Daniel answered immediately. "I don't care who it hurts. I want the truth." That was all we needed. Rebecca prepared a presentation containing every verified document. Phone logs. Metadata reports. Security footage. Screenshots of deleted posts. Timestamped messages. Every file had been copied twice and stored on encrypted drives. If anyone accused us of fabricating evidence, the original records could be independently verified. The anniversary dinner arrived on a warm Saturday evening. Our dining room glowed beneath soft pendant lights. Fresh white lilies filled the center of the table. The smell of rosemary chicken and garlic butter drifted through the house. Crystal glasses reflected the candlelight. Everything appeared peaceful. Exactly as I wanted. Vanessa entered smiling broadly, wearing a cream-colored designer dress she proudly announced had cost $2,300 during a seasonal sale. She hugged me tightly. "You deserve the happiest marriage," she whispered. The irony almost made me laugh. Dinner began with ordinary conversation. Careers. Vacations. Family gossip. Dessert arrived. Coffee followed. Then Vanessa lifted her glass. "I'd like to make a toast," she announced. She praised loyalty. She praised honesty. She praised family. Every word sounded rehearsed. When she finished, I smiled politely. My turn. I reached beneath the dining table. One small wireless speaker connected automatically to my phone. The room fell silent. Vanessa's own voice filled the dining room. I only need Ethan to doubt her. Once trust disappears, marriages destroy themselves. Another recording followed. Claire always gets everything. Maybe she'll finally know what losing feels like. Then another. I cropped the photographs perfectly. Nobody questions pictures. The color disappeared from Vanessa's face. Daniel stared at her without blinking. She tried to laugh. Those recordings are fake. I calmly connected the television. Rebecca's presentation appeared. Metadata. Editing history. Call records. Location logs. Recovered messages. One document after another. Every explanation collapsed before Vanessa could invent another lie. Finally, Daniel spoke. His voice barely rose above a whisper. Did you really do all this because you were jealous? Vanessa looked around the room desperately. Nobody answered her. Nobody defended her. For the first time in years, charm failed. Only silence remained. And silence can be louder than any accusation ever spoken aloud. Vanessa opened her mouth several times, but every excuse sounded weaker than the last. She blamed stress. She blamed childhood comparisons. She even claimed she only wanted Ethan to appreciate me more by making him fear losing me. Nobody believed a single word. The evidence was too complete. The timeline was too precise. Every lie had been documented before she ever realized she was under investigation. Daniel quietly removed his wedding ring and placed it beside his untouched coffee cup. He looked at Vanessa with heartbreaking disappointment rather than anger. I trusted you more than anyone, he said softly. You didn't just betray Claire and Ethan. You betrayed me. Without another word, he walked out of the house. Several relatives followed him. The room that Vanessa had always controlled with charm and competence suddenly felt enormous. She stood alone, surrounded by people who finally understood the truth. Over the following months, the consequences arrived one after another. Daniel filed for divorce using the recordings and documented deception as supporting evidence during property negotiations. Her freelance marketing contracts quietly disappeared after clients learned she had manipulated photographs and fabricated stories. Invitations to family gatherings stopped. Phone calls became rare. The attention she had spent years chasing vanished almost overnight. Meanwhile, Ethan and I attended marriage counseling, not because our relationship had failed, but because we wanted to rebuild every crack that doubt had created. Trust returned slowly, strengthened by honesty instead of assumptions. We postponed our Italy vacation until the following spring, then spent 2 unforgettable weeks walking through Rome, Florence, and the Amalfi Coast with no phones in our hands and no lies waiting when we returned home. Back in Chicago, we planted new roses in our garden, paid off the remaining balance on our mortgage, and established a scholarship in my late grandmother's name for young women studying finance and business ethics. Turning pain into something meaningful felt far more satisfying than watching someone else's downfall. People occasionally asked whether I regretted exposing Vanessa so publicly. The answer was always the same. No. Revenge was never about humiliation. It was about truth finally standing where lies had ruled for too long. The greatest victory was not watching Vanessa lose everything. It was realizing that I never had to become cruel to defeat cruelty. Peace became my reward. Integrity became my strength. And the family I built through honesty proved far stronger than the one nearly destroyed by jealousy. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Let me know in the comments what you would have done.